Well, this is a heck of a view. Yeah, this is gonna take some getting used to. Good morning, everybody. This is wonderful. It's wonderful to be with you. This is my first weekend doing the St. Clement's, St. James circuit. So I had the 4 o'clock Mass at St. Clement's last night, the 8:30 Mass this morning, and I was very close to being lured downstairs for the coffee and donuts afterwards. I was like, shoot, I gotta go say Mass at St. James. So I sacrifice coffee and donuts for you people, just so you know. You are welcome. Okay. Again, my name is Father Patrick Schultz. I am your new parochial vicar, your new priest assigned to Lakewood, and I'm really excited to be with you. I'm excited to be serving and teaming up with Father Kevin Elbert, pastor of all of these parishes. Kevin and I go way back. His first assignment was St. Mary Parish in Hudson, which is my home parish. So when he was a newly ordained priest, his first assignment was serving with the Life Teen kids at St. Mary's, and I got to know him then. I was a seminarian at that point, and he just was such a good and he still is a good and kind priest. But man, he was just so good and kind to me, especially those first years when he was at St. Mary's. Like as a seminarian, he just made himself always available for confessions and advice and conversation and dinner, and we went out to some great restaurants, he and I. That was pretty great. But yeah, it's pretty wild too that, all these years later, I get to serve as a brother priest with him, and it's just really cool. It's really, really cool. So here's what I want to do this morning. So little biography, little background about who is this new guy, who's this new priest, apart from being, so handsome. I'll tell you more about me. I am more than just a face, people. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit more about me, a little bit more about my background, and then I want to talk a little bit about this amazing story we have in the Gospel of Mark today. So I grew up as I said, I grew up in Hudson. I grew up in Hudson. St. Mary Parish in Hudson was my home parish growing up. I'm the eldest brother of two. I've got a younger brother named Scott. He lives in Chicago, 29, great kid. And parents, Rick and Michelle, they're awesome. They're still married. They'll be 39 years married this November. I was born on their third wedding anniversary, which means I'm the greatest gift they've ever received. So I was born on their third wedding anniversary, 39 years of marriage this November, and they're just wonderful. They were business owners. So they got married in 85 and were very busy building a company. I come along in 88. I know some of you all of a sudden feel very old. Don't worry. It'll all be okay. Okay. And so I come along, I get baptized, but there was no real formation whatsoever to speak of. We weren't a very faithful family by any stretch of the imagination. They were busy building a company and raising a little baby, and church didn't factor in at all. So we were your traditional Creaster Catholics, right? So Christmas and Easter only Catholics. That's who we were. I always joke that we were the family who sat in your pew at Christmas time. So when you show up, like, who are these people? That was my family. So not a lot of memories of church growing up as a kid. And I love telling this story. A lot of people have heard this story, but one of the most prominent memories I have of Mass as a kid, I was about 9 years old. My dad just got it in his head that we're going to church this Sunday. Don't know why, but we were going to church. He's probably having a slump in the market or something. So we were in the back row. Father Costello, God rest his soul, he was celebrating Mass. He was the pastor. And we get to the elevation, the consecration, the elevation of the consecrated species. Behold the Lamb of God. And to this day, I can't explain why this happened, and neither can my dad. But at that moment, he elevates, behold the Lamb of God. And some demon, something possessed my 9-year-old soul, and from the back of the church, full top of my lungs, I just let out, bah! And to my dad's horror, he slaps me to the ground. I'm crying, he's laughing and mad all at the same time, and he picks me up by my Oshkosh Bagosh overalls and hauls me out, the side door of the church. And guys, I'm a priest now, okay? So all you with little ones, you're doing great, I bet. Right? You're way ahead of the curve, right? They're all going to be priests and nuns, I'm sure. So, all right, so 9 years old, the back of the church, and fast forward to May 21st, 2016, I'm lying on the marble floor of the cathedral in Cleveland getting ordained a priest. How do you go from there to there? So real quick, real abbreviated version of the vocation story. My vocation story, like all good vocation stories, begins with a girl. That's where you say, "Aw." That's right. Okay, good. So we'll call her Kristen because that was her name. So Kristen, I had a huge crush on Kristen, she was adorable, beautiful, lovely. And by God's providence, I got to sit next to her in physics class. And out of the blue one day, she starts engaging me about God. Now, I had no thoughts or answers about God. I had no ideas about God. But she invited me to come with her that night to the first planning meeting for the fall retreat that was happening. And I found Jesus real fast. Okay, so I was a devout Catholic by 2 o'clock that afternoon and ready to plan a retreat with my future wife. So go to this event, and this is where the story, I don't want to say this is where it gets weird, but I don't know how to make sense of my life apart from this night. So we go to this event. Father Damien, who I know you've gotten to know over these last few months, Father Damien was the priest at St. Mary's. He processes in from the back of the church and places Jesus on the altar. Now, I didn't know what the Eucharist was. I didn't know who Jesus was. I don't even know if I really believed in God at this point. But that night, there was this overwhelming grace of faith that was given to me, whereby I somehow connected the dots that whatever this is that I'm experiencing in front of me, it's real, it's God's presence, it's His love, it's a person who's been dying to meet me, it's a person who has dreams for me and desires for me, who's beckoning me to a mystery, to an adventure, and I just said yes to it. I said yes to it. And it's made all the difference. It's made all the difference. It was shortly after that people started asking me if I'd ever thought about priesthood. And I hadn't up to that point because I just hadn't. But the question was planted deep. And the thing was, going into junior year, senior year, I was terrified of that question. I was terrified of the prospect that someone else would be wanting to sculpt and direct my life, that I'd be handing the reins of my life over to another person. It terrified me. Like, I had planned out in my mind a sort of sketch work of what I thought would make me happy, but then suddenly there's this other person who entered my life who is now asking me, heart to heart, do you trust me? Do you trust me? It took a while. I did a year at the University of Dayton, and then I finally came into the seminary in the fall of 2008. But I eventually said yes. And again, it's made all the difference. I'll tell you more of that story as the weeks and months and years go on, but I want to return to that idea of trust here for a moment, because that's the question. Like, that's what the Sacred Heart of Jesus is always beating and asking of you. Do you trust me? Like, when he showed up to St. Faustina in the image of divine mercy, he didn't tell Faustina to write at the bottom of the image, Jesus be merciful, Jesus have mercy on me a sinner. No, it's Jesus, I trust in you. Biblically speaking, trust and faith are the same concept. It's even the same word, pistis in the Greek. It's the same word, it's the same concept. Like in this gospel that we just heard, the heart of this gospel, it's doing a lot of things. It's revealing the divinity of Jesus. It's revealing his power over nature. It's revealing all sorts of things. But the heart of the story, the drama, is the question he asks them at the end of the story, where they're soaking wet, terrified, overwhelmed, confused. He just says very gently, not condemning, he just asks, why were you terrified? And picture like a smile on his face. He's not condemning. Why were you terrified? Do you not yet have faith? That's the question. He's trying to draw them into a posture of deeper trust. And friends, the only way that the Lord can draw us into a posture, into a place of deeper trust, is by allowing the storms to come. In all of their varied forms, the storm is the vehicle by which the trust deepens. It's the drill that gets our pylons down deeper. It's why he allows the storm. Like in this story, notice it was Jesus. It was his idea to make the crossing in the first place. Jesus, who knows that the storm is coming. It was his invitation. Let's get in the boat. Let's go out onto the lake. He knew the storm was coming. And he laid his head down on the cushion, knowing the storm was coming. He didn't give them any forewarning. He wasn't saying, do you see those clouds in the distance? Batten down the hatches. He just invited them into it in the midst of it. He knew it was coming. And the storm blows in, and it's not just any storm, it's a tempest. And the Sea of Galilee in the Holy Land is known to have these sudden squalls because of the geography. And it's overwhelming. This 25-foot skiff is being swamped by water. The waves are blowing over the edges. The sails are ripping at the seams, and they are terrified. They're terrified, and they turn to Jesus, who's asleep on a cushion. Unbelievable detail. That's some divine peace, right? Asleep on the cushion. And they ask him, Lord, do you not care that we're perishing? I thought you loved us. I thought you cared. I thought you had power. Do you not care that we are perishing? Oh, friends, like this is a cry of the human heart. If your heart has not felt this yet, it will, because that's life. Like we turn to the Lord in these moments with that same question, Lord, do you not care that I'm drowning over here? Do you not care that my life is in shambles, that my marriage feels like it's fallen apart, that my kids' lives are a mess, that my grandkids have left the faith? Do you not care about my health that's in crisis mode? That I'm about to lose my job? Do you not care that the boat of my life is taking on water and I can't handle another thing? Do you not care? Because it seems like you're asleep and it seems like you forgot me. Lord, do you not care that we are perishing? And he wakes up and he rebukes the winds, he rebukes the waves, just as effortlessly as the Lord in Genesis 1 says, let there be light. And there's light. He doesn't have to shout it into the darkness. He just speaks it effortlessly. Be quiet, be still. And it's still. And there you are standing in the boat with them, with Jesus. You're soaked, he's soaked, everybody's soaked. His cushion is soaked. And yeah, you're filled with awe and wonder and bewilderment. And you see him sit back down on the cushion and he asks you with tenderness and curiosity, why were you terrified? Why were you terrified? If we're honest, the answer, why was I terrified? Because of the storm you let befall us, because of the winds, because of the waves, because of the water, because of the drowning that was impending. Because of the cancer diagnosis I just got, because I think she's going to say she wants a divorce, because my kids have all moved away, because my dad is dying, because I'm about to lose my job, because the culture's a mess. Why do you think I was terrified? Why do you think I was terrified? Friends, the Lord brings us to these moments. He brought them to this moment to strip them of the illusion of control, to strip them of the illusion of being able to command the winds and the waves, stripping them of the illusion of self-sufficiency, like we got this. But deeper than that, to reveal to them and to us, and this might sound corny or like Hallmark theology, but this is true. He wants them to know, and he wants us to know, that when Jesus is in your boat, things are different. Everything is different if he's in your boat, if he's in your heart, if he's in your life, if you are grafted onto him, if you are anchored to him, if you have his life and his grace animating you. You are not the old creature, as Paul talks about. You are a new creation. Everything is different if you're with him, if he's with you. The way you evaluate suffering, the way you evaluate grief, the way you evaluate loss, the way you approach struggles and storms, it's all different if he's in your boat. Because he's stronger than every storm. Because he is the God who went to the depths of God-forsakenness, rose triumphantly over sin and death, made a mockery out of the worst thing imaginable, and says, I am with you. I am with you. Friends, when he allows the storms to come, he's inviting us to see, to recalibrate our hearts. Like, this is the tutelage he's always doing in the gospel with the apostles. They have 5 loaves and 2 fish, and they're strategizing, how are we going to feed the 5,000? And Jesus is saying, no, it's not 5 loaves plus 2 fish. It's 5 loaves plus 2 fish plus a Jesus can feed the 5,000. It's not just you alone in this boat in the storm. It's you in the storm in the boat plus me. Plus him. When you add him in, when you recognize that he's in the boat, when he's with you, everything is different. Even when it seems like he's sleeping, he's doing something. Even when it seems silent, he's not ignoring you. He's working on you. He's maneuvering your heart into a place of deeper trust and deeper surrender. So friends, if you're in a storm right now, or if you see a storm on the horizon, this is the only place to be. The only hope the world has is Jesus Christ. The only thing that we have to offer the world is Jesus Christ. He is the eye in the storm. Let's open our hearts again. Let's cry out. Like the apostles, let's cry out to the Lord. And let's utter again, maybe in a whispered voice, Lord, I trust in you. I trust that you'll not get me through this just somehow, but you'll get me through this and every storm triumphantly. He's the God of triumph. He's the God of Easter Sunday. Good Friday never has the end of the story. The storm never is the end of the story. It is always Easter Sunday. Amen.